Gotta give it up for Coach. Big shout out to the coaches. Shout out to the coaches. You see, my coach, he believed in me since jump.
And welcome to another edition of Tough Talk with Coach P. I, of course, am your man, Coach P, and I'm excited to be here with you today. We just had a 3-week hiatus. I needed some time off because, as you can see, your man is coaching at Skyline right now. So we had to take a little bit of time off so I could dive into coaching this youth football team. I'm so thrilled to be back coaching youth football at Skyline, and I got a feeling we're going to win a national championship this year. But I digress. On our last episode, we had the great Coach Coop, who is now the head football coach at San Diego High School, the San Diego High School Caver. As most of you know, that is where I made my bones in high school coaching. It was my first opportunity under the late, great, honorable Keir Kimbrough, and I thank him so much for that opportunity. But today we've got a great episode with the incomparable Montel Allen. He's been doing all-star games, kickoff classics, and now he's in the recruiting game. A lot of you guys know him as a recruiter. So that's going to be a great episode. So we're going to talk a little bit of NIL. We're going to talk a little bit of recruiting. We're going to talk about his background and what makes him a great spokesperson to help get your athlete into college. So this is going to be a great one. So listen, sit back, relax, get your popcorn ready because it's going to be a great show. Also, if you have not subscribed to our Spotify channel, please do yourself a favor and take the time to do it right now. You can follow us on Spotify, Tough Talk with Coach P. That is on Spotify at Tough Talk with Coach P. Also, follow us on social media. Social media, Coach P Tough Talk. That again is Coach P Tough Talk. We will be right back at the end of this commercial break. You're listening to Tough Talk with Coach P. I, of course, am your man, Coach P. We will be right back with Montel Allen.
The Standard is a youth mentorship program empowering young men ages 8 to 14 through athletics, personal growth, and structured guidance. Built on the values of discipline, teamwork, and integrity, The Standard connects sports with life lessons to help participants develop confidence, leadership, and strong character on and off the field.
And welcome back to Tough Talk with Coach P. I, of course, am your man, Coach P, and I am here with one of San Diego's greatest, Montel Allen. He is the co-founder of the SDFFL All-Star Showcase, and he also runs the Kickoff Classic here in San Diego. So he's giving you something before the season and giving you something after the season as well. Montel, how are you, my brother? And thanks so much for being on the show.
Yeah, man, blessed, man. And thank you for allowing me to come on your platform and talk about, some of San Diego's finest high school recruiting, as well as what we do for the community and just the whole nine of the whole overall landscape that we have going on out here.
Now, you talked about recruiting. Talk to me about that and your efforts. Talk to me about the company, what you do for these kids, what's the process, and how they can get a hold of you.
Yeah, so my company is NBA Sports Recruiting. It's been around for, for like 10, 15 years. And our goal is to concentrate on that second tier of recruiting. Not the guys that are Division I, not the guys that are going Power 5, but that next layer of kids that need that Division II, NAI, D3 exposure. I focus mainly on those types of kids to be able to give them an opportunity because I think their contribution is just as important as somebody that's going to USC. This is our platform and our avenue to become D1 in life, not D1 scholarship. Be able to get your degree, be able to make sure you can be able to take care of your family when you graduate, be able to have that jump start that goes along with that, and explaining to parents and kids the process of that because it's a little bit different than everything than going Division I. Being able to walk them through the exact process and step by step, how to achieve those things, how to market yourself, how to talk to coaches, how to make sure you secure that deal, and then also encouraging them that they're going to have to leave the state and be able to go and network in a whole different environment to be able to become successful. So
now with your company, do you primarily focus on kids in the San Diego area, or if I'm a kid from Baltimore, would I be able to use your services as well?
Yeah. I'm helping kids out of state, out of the region all the time. San Diego's just kind of been my mainstay and my home front, where we live. I think it's very important to, take care of your backyard first. And then my backyard is kind of expanded because I'm from California. I'm not from San Diego per se, but, I grew up in Sacramento. I lived in the Bay Area and then also here in San Diego. So I try to take care of all three cities. I help kids from Sacramento, the Bay Area here, and any kid that's out of state or any region. If they need some help, I'm here to help guide them.
Absolutely. So talk to me a little bit about your background. And this is interesting. I mean, we see you on Fox sometimes. We see you on PPR, on shows like that, man. Talk to me about your background. Where'd you start? Where'd you get to start? What's your sports background? Tell our listeners a little bit, some things that they may not know about you.
Yeah, man. So I went to Mesa Verde High School in Sacramento area, right out, actually suburb in Citrus Heights. Played ball there, man. I got recruited out of there by a gentleman by the name of Mike Mitchell at Humboldt State. He really recruited me very, very hard. I was that typical kid, the undersized kid, had some talent, wasn't very good. Then I thought I was the man, but
Right.
growing
Right.
up, I wasn't very, very good. He took a chance on me, man. He brought me to Humboldt State. I ended up being at Humboldt State. I was a three-time all-conference player. When I was there, I got my start. I got to credit a couple of guys, Mike Mitchell for recruiting me, Ron Flowers for really helping me develop as a player, and then Coach Atkins, man, Doug Atkins really helped me become a dog and really, really focusing along with my teammates, man. Just embracing that environment. I was like the only one. There was only two of us from Sacramento. Most of the kids were from Oakland and from LA and San Diego. Honestly, that was
Right.
up there on the campus, and I just learned, man. My mom was a single mom. There's where I became a man when I was in college. It wasn't high school. It was when I got to college, I became a man. See how they move, see how the things they moved and all. See the way they just operated, one socially and then academically, finally got myself some structure in my life, understanding time management and all that stuff. And then on top of all that, man, my freshman year, right after my freshman year, I had my first son. I had a child. So I was a single father in college with my kid and all those doing those things. So navigate from there, play really, really well, did some good things. Got some look at some pro teams, man, but attributes it wasn't a fit. I wasn't tall enough to play in the league, even though I had some interest from the league. Miami Dolphins, to be specific. Jimmy Johnson actually wrote me a hand letter, which was cool at that time. Ran
Right.
for a couple of teams, was good. I got picked up my rights by the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Canadian League back then was really, the contracts were really finicky, and I was a single father. So I couldn't take a chance to go there, not make no money, and come back and then miss out on these things on my son. So I decided not to skip that all the way. Arena ball was an option. I didn't think that was valuable at that particular time. So I went straight into the workforce, man. First job, I got a job at Wells Fargo working, and then went on to HP and then got myself in the high-tech industry. And I've been in that space professionally ever since. Migrated over to San Diego. My older son's mother, she was from San Diego. So I moved here, try to start my whole life all over, man. And then I just fell in love with the sound of the city and never wanted to leave, man. And I raised all my kids here. All my kids have been born in San Diego, and that's where my staple's been. As far as getting into the industry, I started with high school. Jeff Hustler, Coach Hustler over at La Jolla Country Day, he gave me an opportunity because I started the Pop Warner program.
Okay.
Pop Warner had went away. It was just on the San Diego youth. I got pissed off. Something that youth. So I was like, there's got to be an alternative. So we started Pop Warner. Brought Pop Warner back. Once that happened, Jeff saw what I did. He was like, "Hey, why don't you come on?" Ruben Pena then took over Pop Warner. He was a guy that kind of helped start him and his family. We all in the Sayouts helped us all kind of build Pop Warner. Once I migrated over to high school, Ruben Pena took over. Coach De La Hoya today did all these phenomenal things. Had a really good success over there. I took a step back out of that. Then me and Ruben, we're like, "Hey, we saw the All-Star game. We saw the Spanos game, right? It was going on. We was like, well, that's not enough. Like, they're only taking certain kids, and kids that are very, very good, they're just leaving off because of whatever reason." So we was like, again, I got pissed off. I was like, well, let's do our own thing. And we rocked with our own thing. And then simultaneously while we were doing that, we started a magazine at the time. There was a digital magazine, which was the only of its kind in San Diego area. No one was doing that. We got that all taken care of. We got the All-Star game. And then there was an event called the Kickoff Classic a long time before, when my son was playing. There was at Patrick Henry. It was like a one-time deal. And then it went away. No one else was doing it. So I was like, yo, I'm going to just pick up that same premise. But my twist is going to be, instead of paying money to get in the game and admissions, we'll charge everybody a canned good.
Right.
And we'll give that canned good to the San Diego Food Bank. And, one of my passions, man, are really football and homelessness, man. I really have a problem with team homelessness. It's sad because even in San Diego County, man, the numbers are staggering. One out of every teen from the age of 7th grade to their senior year is homeless. One out of every 10. So, I mean, times are hard, man. And we all know times are hard. The economy's hard. People losing their jobs. AI is kind of the new thing that's taken over. So this game is like more important. It's more my baby than anything because I think people need help.
Yeah.
And this, we're not just talking about, hey, they need a shot to go to a school, they need this. No, they need to put food on the table to eat the next day. And I try to
Right.
explain to those players when I'm talking to them, like, man, you got to take a look to your left and your right. Out of 10 of y'all, one of y'all homeless. One of you guys are living in a shelter. One of you guys are couch hopping. One of you is living with your auntie. You're displaced from your family. And I think it's really important for us as a community to give back, even if it's just a little bit. And that's the only way I knew how to come back, give back, in the right
Right.
way. So,
Right. Nah, man,
and then,
that's awesome.
yeah,
It's funny because you and I have a similar background in that regard. Same thing. I went to Florida A&M, played football there. End up getting an internship here in California. Meeting my ex-wife while I was out here. We had a child. I ended up staying here in San Diego
yep.
after I graduated and had 3 more boys while I was here. And same thing. I end up loving the community, loving the weather. I'm from DC originally, so I would never go back to live there after experiencing San Diego as a
Yeah.
home. So we have a lot of similarities there. And then also to the background in terms of really wanting to help young men reach their goals. Teen homelessness, which is funny that you say that, is one of the things that, man, I would love for our nonprofit to eradicate. So offline, man, we'll have some more conversations about that there. Also, too, back in the day, I started the Pride All-Star Classic. It was the first youth All-Star game here in San Diego. It was met with a lot of pushback from probably some of those same people at AYF that you had issues with, but we still ended up making it happen all the while. So I'm going to stay there because part of the reason why I created this podcast was so that we could help the next generation of coaches, of youth football administrators, of youth football boards to really understand what their role is. A lot of these young men particularly may not get, or the coach that they see may be the first example of what a good man, is. So it's really incumbent upon us as coaches to be that example. So staying in that vein, AYF versus Pop Warner. I'd like to talk about that a little bit. You see now, AYF in San Diego is pretty much dead. And Pop Warner now, with 35 organizations, have completely taken over. What have you seen have been some of the changes, in terms of that landscape that have contributed to that? Whereas when you started, AYF was the only thing in town. And not only that, it was the second largest organization in the country, to where now Pop Warner in San Diego is the largest Pop Warner organization in the country with 35 chapters. Talk about how that took place, in your opinion. What do you think?
I think structure, right? Structure has kind of been probably the biggest thing. My biggest problem with AYF at the time, and I can even tell you what let me start with the situation that pissed me off. That would be probably the first start. So
Tough talk. Let's go.
Yeah. So my son, my nephew, I got him into football. We was at Grossmont, and I'm sorry if I put you guys' teams out there, but it's facts. He was at Grossmont. He ended up breaking his wrist in a scrimmage. Literally, we only been in practice for 3 weeks, and I'm like, hey, he's out for the year. He can't play. Can I get a refund? Or I said, I can understand you got to take a little bit out of it for whatever administration fees, but can I get a refund? At the time, I think it was like $200 from the player, something like that. They said no, can't give him anything. I'm like, he's not going to play in any game. He's not going to be able to do anything. He's out for the year.
Right.
That doesn't sound right to me. No, we're not giving anything. That's what pissed me off. That's what set it off right there. I was like, so you basically you're using people, because I'm sure my nephew's not the first one in that situation. I looked at Pop Warner. Pop Warner has a little bit more of a structure. To us, at least at the time, it was very structured. They had a pathway we could follow, and we could start our own teams and be competitive, because there's more than enough kids. It wasn't the kids weren't the issue signing up. There's more than enough kids that want to play. You just kind of got to get it in structure. And I think Pop Warner had a national structure, also to a regional, to a city structure. We were part of just the chapters that started. We started off with 3 teams, literally 3 teams, and then we played against the Mexicali teams, which was kind of our first premise to kind of go there. So we followed the structure. Structure was very flexible. It had things, to me, at the time, it was to be able to treat parents and kids right. At that time, when you got a monopoly, like, San Diego Youth did, you could do what you want, right? You could say, you could imagine who you want. You could control it whichever way you want. And that's also part of my French. You could be an asshole if you want to.
Right.
And I think in those situations, they were being assholes. They didn't want any flexibility. They didn't want to do any of those things. And no one was willing to stand up. Everybody was just like, we'll just take it. Well, I'm not the person who's going to take it if I think you're doing me wrong. So, at least have the decency to answer my questions, and then humble me to where I was wrong so I could accept whatever information was given. They weren't even willing to do that. They just was like, no, we ain't giving you money back. Basically move on. All right, well, I'll move on. And I started my own thing as a competitor. And I'm sure I was there for the first 3 years. And then I transitioned to high school. Then Ruben took it over for my partner, Ruben, that's in all of my SDFFL stuff. He took it over for a little bit. And then we handed it off. And now it's blossomed. It's kind of just grew into this own thing. And I know they had their ups and downs. Teams dropped, teams joined. But I think the one steady in that whole thing is the structure. The Pop Warner structure is still there, still existing. It still goes. So with that being said, I think that's the difference. I don't know what happened with AYF or San Diego Youth. Once I stepped away, I kind of didn't follow it anymore because that's a difficult role, man, a difficult job to be in. You're dealing with a lot of things, and you're not getting paid for it.
I think that was the major thing. And shout out to those guys because, like you said, it is a difficult job, difficult proposition, handling all that. But at the same token, we have a responsibility, man, to do this thing right. And to be honest, and I'll leave it here, I think the guys at AYF, they fumbled the bag. I mean, they really had a great league. And like you said, stubbornness, unwillingness to compromise, the belief that they were the best thing going. And because the knock on Pop Warner back in the day was that it was soft, right? Mm-hmm. So they would use that. Well, if you really want to play in a real competitive league, then you want to play here. But that is completely flipped on its head now. And it is because, like you said, the structure that Pop Warner provides, and it's unwavering. These are the rules. If you don't want to abide by the rules, then get out of here. And that's just what it is. And I think that's the best thing for anyone. Just we would tell our kids the same thing. These are the rules. And it's not a democracy. This is a dictatorship. So you want to play in our league, this is the thing. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And when you look at in the long run what has happened, I guess they proved to be right. So we'll leave that there. We're going to take a quick break. You are listening to Tough Talk with Coach P. We'll be right back on the other end of this commercial break with Mr. Montel Allen.
For the ones putting in work when no one's watching. From the early risers to the late night ballers. Introducing Youngstar Creatine Gummies. The clean science-backed creatine gummy made for today's athlete. Boost strength, train harder, and recover faster. Youngstar, fueling today's future athlete. Youngstar.
And welcome back to Tough Talk with Coach P. We are back with Montel Allen. Mr. Allen, let's talk about NIL, man. Let's talk a little bit about NIL. Some of the good things, some of the bad things about NIL. Me personally, I'm a fan. The only thing that I do not like about this NIL era is the transfer portal, and not even necessarily the transfer portal, but just the times. I just don't think that it's physically responsible to pay a kid $10 million and he can opt out of the bowl game. Like, that's just ridiculous to me. But let's have a conversation. NIL. What's your thoughts on NIL? How has it changed or affect the game in your opinion?
Okay, it's kind of twofold. So NIL, I think, is a great thing for kids to get paid, right? They should get paid for them playing at that game in the name, image, and likeness. I do believe, though, the structure of NIL is crap. It's stupid. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of in my life. You're going to give a 17-year-old, like you said, $10 million with no financial literacy, no understanding, not just to opt out, but he has no way. He doesn't understand even how to spend that money or deal with that money, where, in my opinion, they should have structured it. They should have had a structure behind it. What I mean by that, you get that $10 million up on graduation. That way you're tied to the school, and that portal now doesn't exist as much. You put that $10 million, you're only allowed to receive a certain percentage of that, and the rest is going to go into an IRA account so it can earn interest for you up on your graduation. And if you don't graduate from our university, guess what? You forfeit that money, because now we're giving young people no accountability for the things they sign. And agents know that. There's no accountability. Let's just get the money and go. And agents, in my opinion, are a piece of crap, because you're signing these kids to these deals, you're taking your percentage, and there's no guidance on after that until you're ready to leave. So the structure in NIL is whack. It's dumb. But it's going to change. And people look at me crazy. There's going to be a cap. They're going to put a cap on it. They're tired of seeing African-American and brown people become these instant millionaires all of a sudden. I don't care what no one says. And then all of a sudden, we're going to read about them in 3 more years where they're broke. So there's going to be some structure behind it. I believe it's going to come down the pipeline. I'm not quite sure when, but I think it's going to happen sooner or later. But to answer your question, NIL, them getting paid, I think is great. And I also believe people need to understand Division I players were getting paid before the NIL.
Right.
They were making money before then. So this is not like they weren't making anything. They were making some. Back in the day, they weren't making anything. Now they were making something. They get a check every 2 weeks, just like everybody else, to cover their rent, give them some grocery monies and some spending money for them. Now, for some reason, NCAA wanted to wuss out and didn't want to put no structure because people were saying about it. And then they just said, okay, let the carnival begin. Let the Wild Wild West begin. Now it's begin. Now they can't even control it because they put no structure behind it. And I believe once they put some structure behind it, we'll see it flatten at that point. NIL will flatten. Go ahead.
Do you think they'll be able to put this cat back in the bag, considering they've allowed it to go this way? Outside of legislation from Congress, what is the NCAA going to do? And I'll say this because, you know, the NCAA has been allowed to exploit college athletes for years and years and years, I believe. Their image, their likeness with video games and all kinds of other stuff. They were able to penalize kids because, you know, a guy bought him a suit so he could go home to his mother's funeral, and a guy is ineligible for a bowl game and that type of stuff. So the NCAA is hiding behind this amateurism thing, and they don't want to put contracts in place because they want to be able to continue to print money, you know, without any oversight themselves. So how do we what is the NCAA going to do? Or do you think it's going to take maybe an act of Congress or something like that? And if it does come down to Congress, do you really think Congress has the wherewithal, they have the smarts to be able to pull this off?
First is NCAA. One, I'm going to be the first one to admit it. If no one ever admitted, NCAA is racist. It's a racist environment because, like you said, in that same instance, a kid getting a suit to go to a funeral getting taxed. It's typically an African-American kid from somewhere else in the SEC that they want to penalize for whatever reason. I've never, ever seen a Caucasian player being in that same situation, being suspended or being in trouble, and towards after the fact, till either after the plan they investigated and do those things. That's here, no there. For the structure part about it, legislation, I don't think they're going to have any control over it. They can present anything they want, but NCAA is not going to abide unless the Power Four abides.
Absolutely.
That's where the problem is. Will the Power Four abide? And now Power Fours are now to see themselves now they're starting to see themselves in the financial crunch, a la Oregon. Oregon's
right.
Talking about they got to raise student fees and all this stuff just to fit the athletic NIL deal to be able to pay their players. And they're backed by the juggernaut of Nike. They're backed by Nike. If they're having problems, financial issues and financial problems, we can only imagine where Texas A&M is going to be in a couple of years. Until somebody, when a big oil tycoon said they want to pull out. So SEC is going to put a structure behind it because now they're being affected. Power Four starting to be affected. So there'll be a structure, and I think it's probably being discussed behind closed doors now, but we got to figure it out. Anything outside of football, jersey sales and all, I think kids they deserve a percentage of that. They absolutely do. But it has to be revenue share across the board because an offensive lineman jersey isn't going to sell.
Right.
The quarterback's is, but his is not. So it needs to be a revenue sharing process across the board for the team to be able to get this much and then just disperse amongst the team. Two, as far as that is concerned, NCAA has been cowards, man. Let's just call it what it is. They've been cowards about setting an infrastructure in place because it's not going to please everybody, and it's not meant to please everybody. It's meant to make sure we have a structure around this money and go. Because the way they set it up right now, only the rich get richer. Anybody that's under a budget that doesn't have the money is not going to be able to compete in that 16. And it's BS because they made over $1 billion on the national championship game. $1 billion. And I'm not talking about the teams. I'm talking about NCAA made the $1 billion because of that money should be dispersed evenly across the board. It should. If we're going to go into this route of amateurism and college football is now professional because they're getting paid, then they need to set up a structure like the NFL where it's profit sharing across the board. Every team should be allowed a certain amount of money to be able to go down and trickle to that, and that's your budget. Your budget.
That's the point. That right there is the point. And that is the reason why the NCAA, I don't believe, will ever take this thing by the horn, because if they do, then they're going to have to do that. They're going to have to open the books and they're going to have to profit share. And I believe that's the thing that they don't want to do. They've been able to literally print money, under their 501c3 nonprofit status for years and years and years. And I think for them to actually allow the players to unionize, for them to profit share and that type of stuff. I think that's what they would want to avoid. So I guess the answer to that is it'll never happen, basically.
Well, I mean, let's speak on the other side of the coin. I mean, if the players do decide to unionize, which I think would be a smart, everyone's always not going to be fair. Yes, it is fair. It's smart for them because it's protecting themselves, when out of contracts and everything. But if they go to the unionize, CAA is stupid. They're part of the contract negotiation, so they can accept it or not accept it with the union. So with that being said, they can say, hey, guess what? If you're going to ask for this, we're going to make sure you commit for 2 years no matter what the situation is as a player, or commit for 3 years if you're going to sign an NIL deal for anybody. So they would have a lot more negotiating power if they unionize, right, to be able to set the structure they want. Will they do that? You're absolutely right. I don't think they will, because they're allowed to be able to print money. They're able to control the narrative.
That's what I was getting ready to say.
Yeah.
The only reason why it's not in their best interest, because then the TV money the NCAA gets, they're going to have to share that with the athletes. I mean, it's just, it would just open up Pandora's box for them that I don't think they would rather, and what we've seen, you've seen Tuberville and you've seen Nick Saban going to Congress, trying to have these meetings. And it's laughable to me that Nick Saban is the one that is leading this crusade when you can say what you want. His players were getting houses and cars and all kinds of other stuff. It was cool when he was able to do it.
Yeah.
But now when everybody's able to do it legally, I quit.
Yeah.
And nobody could. I love Nick Saban. I think he's a great recruiter. Whether or not he's a great coach, that's another conversation for another day. But he's a great recruiter, great man, gave a lot of African-American athletes an opportunity to get to the next level, blah, 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 blah. But when the rubber met the road and he needed to show what type of coach he was, because the playing field was leveled due to NIL, he quit. And nobody else can convince me otherwise, right? So when guys like that talk, I just can't do it. When you guys were able to cheat for so long and now that is even, you want to quit.
I think it's funny, man. I really do. I think it's really hilarious, like you said, him leading that crusade. But also his plan, he doesn't have a concrete plan. Like the discussions that I've read, there's no concrete plan. They just say, put some structure in there, take away NIL. Well, that's not the answer. The answer is to put together a plan to provide structure around it, and also provide long-term structure so the players have a benefit. And that's what I was saying. Like, they shouldn't get all that money up front. There's no 17-year-old that needs $10 million while he's in college. And also, I believe if you're getting a certain NIL, your scholarship, you shouldn't have 100% scholarship. You should have to pay out of pocket like regular people have to do. You're exceeding the financial aid thing by law. So why you're paying to go to school now?
That's a part that I hadn't even thought about, that part of it. Yeah, these guys, if I have a $10 million contract, then you should be able to pay for your way to go to school. But I think Beck from Miami said it best, man. He graduated 2 years ago. So the man was going to school and nobody said anything. Right. My brother and I, we always have this conversation about college football is supposed to be about amateur football. It's supposed to be about developing into a man, not necessarily into the best football player that you can be. Yes, I did develop as a player in college, but I developed as a man. Like you said in college, that's where you became a man. I got some of the social skills, being away from my parents, right, for the first time, having to fend for myself, having to answer for myself, being able to fail in a controlled environment, right, taught me how to be a man, right? Those are the things that we should be learning. It's hard to teach a 18, 19, 20-year-old who's got $30 million in the bank, who makes more money than his coach. It's hard to teach him discipline, responsibility, stick-to-itiveness. If I don't want to go somewhere and I got $10 million in the bank, guess what? I'm not going. Okay.
Not going no more. Yeah. And I think and I always tell my people this, college, and I'm not talking about JC because JC is completely different. I'm talking the four-year university is the last spot of transition for young people from teen to adult, where you can still allow to make mistakes in that controlled environment and still be successful, because you make that mistake on the street, you're probably going to jail, right? You're doing something that's detrimental for jail. You do that something at JC, you're still in that same environment. Typically, you're in the same area where you live, so you kind of fall back into the same bucket. You make the mistake in the military, you're going to get court-martialed. Now you can't get a job because that's on your record. College is that last avenue for people to be able to go there and grow and make those things. And I wish we would take more advantage of it, as people. And when you're an athlete, it's even completely different, right? The difference is magnitude by 10. because you represent the school. You got all these things going on. We got to do better. I think from your opening line, we got to do better. We got to do better as mentors and parents to get these kids ready for this action. And man, the money, I hate the NIL, but I love it. And I don't even know how to explain that way in my heart. I'm glad they're getting paid. I'm glad they're making money. I'm glad they're doing what they want to do. But money without structure is chaos, man.
Those are going to be, in my opinion, the biggest impediments to your success when you have that type of money. And when you think about where a lot of these guys come from, their socioeconomic background, there aren't a lot of financial advisors that are their uncles, right? They're not sitting around the dinner table talking about passive income, right? They don't have, in most of those cases, they don't have someone that is teaching them what to do and what not to do with their money. They don't have someone that's telling them that, hey man, before you spend $1, you got to pay Uncle Sam. And just like in the NFL, I'm learning that a lot of these NIL deals, you get that jock tax, just like the NFL. So if you don't understand that, and you've got an uncle who is saying, hey man, I'm trying to start a record label, can you help me out? And then you give him $1 million and you still are responsible for that tax burden, and nobody's telling you about that. I think that part of it is the hard part. So to transition a little bit, how do you think the NFL could support these kids in a way that does not promote tampering, but maybe a way that the NFL can set up some sort of resource where these kids can go to seek out this information? How is that something that's possible in your opinion?
I think the NFL needs to be a part of each one of these major schools, setting up financial literacy certificates that each player needs to pass every year. They go to school during the summer school. They go every Division I athlete at that level is going to school in the summer school because now it's required. They all should have to take a financial literacy class that teaches them about jock tax, about where to invest your money, how to manage your money, and all those things. And then at the end, you need to pass a test to be financially certified literate every year, as many years as you're there, no matter where you at. And then upon that, that's where your money becomes more and more released. But like I said at the beginning, I think the structure needs to be set up where they don't get all that money up front. You should, me and you in college, and we had an extra 50. We was like, woo, $50, man, we good. I'm gonna make this stretch for a minute. Now you're asking these kids to manage millions of dollars, and you're asking this kid to trust a person that's an agent who I don't know what they're doing to help them manage their money and guide them through this, regardless of who they are. Money's money, man. And when the larger money, the larger the bank account is, the easier it is for some to disappear because you won't notice it.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying everybody's crooks, but I'm saying everybody ain't innocent either. So You're going to tell me that I'm going to trust a kid that's coming from Mississippi and I'm giving him $10 million and I'm expecting him to understand the management of money and how to manage it and how to pay tax. And like you said, how to do all those things, pay taxes, do all these other things and understand that infrastructure without giving all his money away, without being broke while he's there. And then he's on top of that, got to understand how college works because he doesn't know college time management. He has to understand how football works. He has to perform on the football field. He has all these things going on in his life, man, that we just made it so much complicated for them to become and to be successful. And I think we're going to have a lot of mental health issues, man. I'm telling you. I think in NCAA, as this goes along and this continues, because everybody can't make it to the NFL, regardless how much money you're making in college. All of them are not going to make it. So what happens when that's over? They can't play football no more at that level. What happens when the money runs out? Because having $5 million when you're 18 years old doesn't mean you have $5 million when you're 65. That money's going to deteriorate and go. So what does he do when he starts to run low on that money because no one taught him how to do those things? Right. Manage money, what to buy and purchase and do all the things.
But technically having $5 million at 18 years old is actually only having $3.5 million after taxes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. So it just is what it is. And Coach, we could talk, man. We could go on and on about this, but this is when we might even have to have, another show where we do a panel with this because we didn't even really get into now kids are getting NIL in high school and the effects of that. My brother is in Washington, D.C. He's a coach out there. I forget the kid's name, Dylan Stewart. I shouldn't forget his name, but he's at South Carolina. He's a defensive end. He's probably going to be the number 1 overall draft pick next year at South Carolina. And he told me of a story where Adidas was coming at this kid when he was a senior in high school. He's from DC, he's from inner city DC. And if you've ever been to DC, then you know what time it is. And they were putting a 10-year deal in front of him, right? For $3 million. 10 years for $3 million. Now think about that. He's only going to be in college for 3 years. That would mean 7 years of his NFL career, he was stuck with Adidas for a measly $3 million. Now, of course, moms wanted to jump all over that. Right?
Correct.
Because that $3 million would change their lives. But luckily, he had a great head football coach that talked him out of that deal. And again, he's going to end up being the first overall draft pick. He still got a bunch of money in NIL because he showed it on the field. And he's going to get a big contract when he comes out of school. And guess what? Nike, Adidas, Reebok, all of them are going to be right there with bags and bags of money.
With $100 million deal instead of a $3 million deal. Yes.
But just think about that, because none of these guys, these businesses, they're not in it for the kids, right? They're in it for themselves. And they would have loved to have gotten him locked into a deal like that and made all that money off of him. And $3 million would have been life-changing money. Yeah. But not really, right?
Yeah. Not in his situation, right? Yeah, his situation is completely different.
Yes. So I mean, we have to think about that. And I think there needs to be some sort of literacy, financial literacy for these parents too. But again, that's a whole nother topic right there. So we'll leave that alone. You are listening to Tough Talk with Coach P. We're going to take one last break, and I'll be right back with Mr. Montel Allen.
We don't chase. We create. They knock. They watch. We keep working. We keep building. We don't look up. Crowds form. We stay seated. Because the real ones find you. You don't gotta go nowhere. Just be true to self. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
And welcome back to Tough Talk with Coach P. I, of course, am your man, Coach P, and we are here with the incomparable Montel Allen. So, Coach, let's talk about what you – well, before we go back, let's talk about the recruiting process, okay? What are you looking for when you are looking for a candidate to put through your system? What are you looking for? And I know you could take a raw canvas and turn them into a recruitable athlete if you get them soon enough. But what does it take to get recruited in today's college football landscape, given the fact that a lot of these colleges are looking for polished products, right? The portal, has permeated through college football right now. And these college coaches, I'd rather get the guy that's 20 years old than the guy that's 17 years old. So talk to me about the recruiting process and how you approach the recruiting process in today's landscape.
Yeah. So dealing with, so let's help people understand real fast. So recruiting goes down, not up. So what I'm saying is Power 5 goes to Division 1. The guys that are transferred to portal go down to Division 1. The guys from Division 1 that enter the portal are either going lateral or dropping down to Division 2 or Division 1 AA. Same thing. Division 1 AA people are going lateral, dropping down to Division 2, and so on as it goes. It's very rare that you see guys go up. They don't really go up in the portal. There's some that do. Don't get me wrong.
Up or lateral. Right.
Yeah, it's usually up or lateral.
Or unless they coming out of a JC, because pretty much that's the only way you can go is up. But yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. So you pretty well could go there. So basically, it's typically you go down. You don't really go up. There's a few that kind of silver their way through, so you'll hear about that. But the way the process is kind of right now is, and we'll talk about high school and JUCO. So, and I'll go JUCO first. So if you're JUCO, there's always they think players, no matter where you at, no matter how good you were, no matter how good you're in high school, if you go to junior college, college coaches think there's a stigma on you. Something happened. Something's wrong. Like, it doesn't matter. Either you was a grade problem, you have a character problem, you were too small, too short, whatever. There was something there why you didn't go. So you already got that asterisk behind you. And what people don't understand, when you go to junior college, if you're a qualifier, you don't get out that first year, you're stuck until you have 60 transferable units. period. And the people don't, oh, what? 60 transferable units. That the misinformation that people are misled, like, oh, my clock doesn't start if I'm a JC. That's absolutely correctly wrong. Your clock does start. It starts when you're a JUCO. So don't believe that. Talk to your coaches, talk to your administrators, ask them, I heard my clock doesn't start. Is that true? They'll tell you no. The only people that got their clock to start to refresh are people that have high power lawyers and a lot of money and can petition to the NCAA to win those cases. Most of us don't have that situation to be able to do that, and it's a case-by-case basis. It's not overall everybody. That's number one. 60 transferable units is the one key, and that transferable units has to be towards the university you're going to. So obviously you think 60 transferable units got to go to Stanford. It's highly different from 60 transferable units that have to go to San Diego State.
Right. You
got to make sure they all transfer. You have to have 60. The count is 60. They don't care about your AA. You have to have 60 transferable units. That's that part of that. So high school, what I'm looking for, grades, obviously, number one, because you can't get anywhere unless you got grades. 2 is character, is your character. And then 3 is what you do on the field. What you do on the field will get you noticed, but those other 2 are going to come right behind it. So they have to be fixed. I look at those other 2 first before I start doing anything to make sure this kid is going to be a qualifier, where I'm going to market it to, where I'm going to shop them towards. And the one thing that you can't control is attributes. And that's a big that's where most people fail. There's a set attributes for Division I, and there's definitely a set attributes for Power 5. You know, if you're a receiver, they want a receiver to be 6'3" and run this fast and be this big and be this strong. I know the cliche is, you can't measure my heart. I work so hard. I'm so good. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. Well, actually, they say they can't measure your heart by their paycheck. Because if I get you and you're undersized and you don't fit the attribute list, guess what? And we don't have success with you, I'm going to be on the chopping block, or I'm going to be scrutinized on the chopping block. If you meet the attributes and meet that size and don't meet and don't pan out, that's okay. At least I got the criteria that you wanted. And there's the difference what people don't understand. You know, no one's gonna recruit to us in high school a 6'2", 280 tackle. We're like, oh, he's a baller, he's great. That doesn't meet the attributes we're in Division I, where they want somebody that's 6'4", that's 295.
Right.
They can move and got bent to the hips. And and those are non-negotiables.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. There's a few exceptions to the rules, but the exception to the rules is somebody that has a very special talent. Like if you're 5'7" and you're running back and he's in there, he probably ran a low 4.4 or a high 4.3, which we already know that's unique. A lot of people in this world can't do that. So you got to really kind of fit in those buckets. And once you fit whatever bucket you fit in, then you maximize on recruiting them out there. If you're a Division II player, I'm going to push you to Division II. The problem we got is here, and the caveat that's really the most frustrating, is we have coaches and parents and uncles. Everybody got their say-so when it telling you what they think you should be, when I'm telling you, you're not. You know, you're really not. You're not that person. Not that you're not talented enough, not that you don't have the physical gifts, is that you're not fitting in that category that they want you to be at. And they're not willing to budge and take a chance on you. And parents don't seem they want to hear what they want to hear. They don't want to hear what the reality of it is, which is very frustrating. They don't want to hear the truth that their child is this. You know, he's going to be able to go here, and now if he goes here and he maximizes success and he blows it like you said he is, he'll get an opportunity to jump in the portal and possibly jump up. But the way it is right now, this is the setting. This is it. And that's another reason why you have a lot of these guys that's in the portal. They got cut, and they're sitting there in the portal and they can't get out. They met the attribute size. They didn't meet the physical. They didn't meet the talent pool. So now they're in and they're stuck, and they'll usually either drop down or not, or they're still trying to hold on for something and nobody's scraping them up. That's the part of the game now. I need somebody to develop. I don't need somebody I need to develop. Because I need to develop, I might as well invest in a freshman or somebody that's coming in that I can see. And those are typically only going to be 3 positions. I'm going to invest in a corner, the 6'2" and above, because that's rare. They can run fast. That's rare. I'm going to invest in a quarterback because you have to. You know, you want to invest in a young quarterback. And I'm going to invest in offensive tackle. Everything else is expendable. I can find that anywhere, any corner across the United States. I can go to DMV and throw a rock and find a 5'9", 170-pound running back.
Right.
You know, that runs a 4.6. That's common. That's common. But my ideal is I want a 6'2" guy that runs a 4.6. Now that's rare. That has the body of a running back and can do the things it can do and move like that. That's a little bit rare. So that's why that guy falls in there, and that's why that 5'9" guy is stuck in the portal or going to JC or pissed off about going to Division II or tells everybody in the world he's been overlooked and all that stuff. Unfortunately, guess what, man? I don't hire an engineer unless he has an engineering degree. I'm not gonna hire somebody with another background. I need a guy that knows how to do this.
Right.
It's already there. It translates the same way to recruiting. I need a guy that fits this attributes and fits this criteria that we need and we want. So once you know that, man, now you just play the game. Right now it's the matching game. Who's interested? who's interested. But parents, and like I said, those parents, uncles, and coaches are telling them so much different because they're telling them what they want to hear instead of telling them the reality of what really is. And
got to tell these kids. Got to tell these kids the truth. I did do a podcast one time, letting them know, letting these coaches know you got to love these kids enough to disappoint them. Man. I disappoint them. That means you got to tell them the truth. I know you want to play running back, but you're a guard. And that's where you're gonna make your bones. It just is what it is. I mean, we gotta love them enough to disappoint them. So I definitely get that.
Yeah, and I think you gotta love them enough to say Division II is all right, bro. Like go there, go maximize that Division II offer, do your thing, ball out, work your butt off, and then let the chips fall where you may. Because I try to tell everybody, playing on Saturdays is you're already an exceptional. You're exception to the rule.
Right.
Playing on Saturdays, regardless of level, playing on Saturdays, you're an exception to the rule. Now, what level of Saturdays you play on, you can develop and grow and all that stuff. And you got to go where you want it, man, not tolerate it.
Yeah, you can't make it to the league or make it to the next level if you can't get on the field. It just is what it is. You know what it is.
So, and I don't understand the concept of some of these coaches, man. And then junior college coaches, I get really frustrated with them because they tell these kids all the stuff they want to hear to get them there, knowing they can't get out that same way. I can't. I'm telling. You're a D1, man. You ball so hard at this school. We think we can maximize. The bottom line, man, you're 5'9" or you're 5'8" running back. That's 165 pounds. It doesn't. I don't care how much I pour into you, unless you're running a 4.3. I can't. There's nothing. No recruiter's gonna come in here and say and do to change it.
Yeah.
To change that. So I think they got to be very, very transparent and honest. And I think I'd rather hurt your feelings early in the process, so you know where you're gonna go, than building you up to get all the way to the end and then you don't make it, and now you're mad at the world, right? Because let's be honest with you, these kids nowadays don't know how to deal with disappointment. They don't.
Right.
They don't know how to deal with disappointment. They don't know how to deal with something somebody telling them they want to do. They always feel there's another option, but we already know there's an expiration when you're playing football. You got to let them guys know, hey, if you want to prolong as long as you can, this is where you fit.
Absolutely.
And where you fit is the D3. You're going to play D3. Oh, I'm better. No. You can be better than that in your mind, what you think. But right now, you're at a D3 level. Go to that Division III. Go ball out. Let's get your grades right. Let's get everything possibly in the right to make sure you maximize your ability at the Division III. And then hopefully in a year or two, there may be an option to go to Division II or Division I. And if you ball out for 4 years, who knows? You might land and be an undrafted free agent in the league. It happens a lot.
It does. And that's what you got to tell them. It's like, okay, well, I think I'm a D1 person, but look, man, all I'm getting is D3 offers. All right, well, then go prove it. Show me. You go out there and I'm telling you, you go out there and you rush for 2,000 yards at the D3 level. Trust me, they're going to come knocking, right? But you know what I mean? So
somebody's gonna notice at that point. Yeah, somebody gonna notice. Be like, hold on, this kid is there, man. Let's throw some money at him.
So go prove it. Go prove it, and also get the opportunity to get away from your parents, get on a college campus, get in the college weight program. Get acclimated to college life, and like you said, let the chips fall where they may. I've been telling kids that forever. Look, man, I was one of those ones when I was in high school. I thought I was a D1 guy. I end up going to Florida A&M because they were the only Division I school that offered me a football scholarship. Turns out I had an academic scholarship because at the time I was in a pre-architecture program with my high school. I could have went to the University of Miami on a full academic scholarship. I chose to go to Florida A&M. Now I had the time of my life, right? But it was not the University of Miami. And I should have done that. I could have walked on. I could have done all kinds of other things. But it was a lesson that I think about all the time to this day. Like you said, go where you want it, right? And then go out there and ball and then see what happens.
Oh, man, and enjoy those college careers, man, because everybody thinks their high school years are their formative years, or they do whatever right out of high school. Your formative years is in college, man. That 4-year university, just something about that structure and that environment that it is. And, and I would wish more people of color, they got this facade. I don't want to take out loans. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. Well, it's an investment in your child. It's not an expense. Quit looking at it as expense. It's an investment. And it's a long-term investment to make sure they're developed and ready to go in the real world, at least educated wise, to be able to get that formidable job. Like it is really an investment. It's not an expense in your child. So we need to flip that narrative that people are putting on us, so more of our kids can go out and go to these universities and enjoy these university lives and these formidable years of life. Because at the end of the day, man, the game has changed. You being a high school student and having a high school diploma is not going to get you in that door no more at all.
Nope.
It's going to be colleges. You got to have a college degree, and an undergrad degree that really ain't. And that's starting to become not enough no more. You got to get a master's degree to get your foot in the door. So I really wish people would take the time and do, because at some point, Home Depot and Costco, and there's nothing wrong with those jobs, but guess what? Those jobs aren't going to be enough to be able to help you sustain the lifestyle you want for you and yourself and your family.
Plus, those jobs are soon going to be lost to automation anyway.
Yes.
So yeah. But man, we're gonna take one last break. When we come back on the other side of this, I want to talk to you finally about what you got coming up next. And then also too, I always like to, whenever I have brothers on the show that look like me, I like to talk about what we can do as a community, particularly here in San Diego, that is so small, where we can work together. Seems like, particularly amongst Black men, we want to be the only one of us in a given room, and that needs to change. So we're going to talk about that on the other side of this. You are listening to Tuff Talk with Coach P. We'll be right back.
You don't just show up, you show out every damn day. This ain't your average energy boost. Young Star Energy Gummies give today's future athletes clean fuel with real results. No jitters, no crash, just straight up energy and faster bounce back. Clinically shown to support energy, muscle recovery, and cellular health. Young Star, stay lit, recover quick, and level up.
And welcome back to Tuff Talk with Coach P. I am here with the incomparable Montel Allen. And before I let you go, we're going to talk a little bit about our community. This is Tuff Talk with Coach P. I have an unbelievable burden on my heart to bring us together, particularly as Black men. Unfortunately, a lot of times, particularly here in San Diego, and like I said, I'm from DC, everybody's Black, man. I mean, the bus drivers, the police officers, the school teachers, the cafeteria workers, everybody is Black. So to come here with such a small Black community, and we are literally crabs in a barrel, Coach, what can we do to fix that? How can we, work together to improve this Black coaches coalition here in San Diego, particularly?
I think that there's a few guys that's doing a really good job. Coach Gray is doing a good job. And then we have a few others that are out there. Coach Carter, I really like a lot, because they bring a lot of young people into this program. Verlaine was doing a tremendous job, I think, bringing people in there. But all of us coming together collectively. You're right. We have to do something better. And one is respect, right? We got to respect each other, respect this craft, whether you agree with it or not. We got to respect what they're doing, and then come together, and then have a vision of what we want to do in the future. And I'm gonna be perfectly honest, man. We need to take a plan. We need to take a page out of the Usos book. Samoan, the Polynesian, they're smaller than us, but they're unified. They're very unified. They're very in unison. They believe in family first, and they believe in loyalty and trust and all that within their community. I think we need to take a page out of the book and bring that over to us. If not networking with them, but also having our own, where we believe in family, unifying and being and having understanding and rewarding, and acknowledging all the brothers that's inside coaching, whether it be basketball, baseball, football, is along across the gamut above. Because until we get to that point, man, I think San Diego's always going to be fragmented, right? And everyone always feels they have to choose sides. We don't have to choose sides, man. Root for the next man, whether you're going against him or not. If you beat him, great. If you lose against him, not. But give him his props to keep it going. It's funny that we deal with a lot of Caucasian coaches, and they don't have that issue.
Correct.
There's no issue or no wall in there. But with us, we have this fragmented relationships amongst all of us for whatever reason. Those need to go. And I forgot to shout out Tracy and Coach Dunn, both tremendous men. But I mean, we gotta figure out a way to be able to pull everybody together. And I ain't gonna say end beefs, because I'm not here to solve your disagreements. But we should be here to be able to respect each other on their craft and what they do, and keep it pushing. And look at a bigger goal. Like, the bigger goal is this. The bigger goal is to have us a solid representation in CIF. The bigger goal is to have our own award show. The bigger goal is that whatever that bigger goal is, we need to be able to focus on that and put our differences aside and work collectively to get to that point. And we don't have that, man. And I don't know why. I really don't know. I can't answer the question why, but I know what I think that needs to be there. And I would love to have, anybody watching the show, I would love to have their insight. They should be able to provide feedback and tell me whether I'm full of crap or they agree with me and give all of us some pointers in what direction we need to go into in order to make this happen, because I think it's very, very important.
Well, I definitely feel that. I mean, you and I have been in this game for a long time. And I mean, we've crossed a lot of the same paths. Some of the things, like I said, that I've experienced, particularly with dealing with coaches that look like me. Like you said, or like I said before, it's like, man, we want to be the only one. And we really have to, we got to stop that. I do believe that we should do some sort of coalition, some sort of a resource type of collaborative effort with the coaches here. And so far, I've received pretty good feedback, in that regard. But we definitely have to look out for one another and build that community where we can be a resource for one another. And just imagine, a lot of us, the Black coaches coach at high schools or organizations where the community looks like them. A lot of the times they coach in particularly at places like Lincoln, and not to call any of these communities out, but Lincoln, San Diego High, those type of places where they deal with a certain demographic where the socioeconomic, issues that they all have the same issues. If we could have some sort of coalition where we're resources to each other, one high school needs helmets, and then, we can all fundraise and pool our stuff together. This high school is having a problem with buses, so we can all pool our, stuff together and kind of work together in that regard so that those schools are winning. Because like you said, man, winning cures a lot of things, man.
Yeah, it masks a lot of things. It masks a lot of issues winning. Yeah.
Absolutely. Lincoln winning those state titles and all that other good stuff. Indirectly, I know it affects them getting that field the way they did. And even still, for them to be such a storied school and have to go through the challenges that they went through to get the field is just crazy to me. And nobody is going to be able to tell me that if that was La Jolla Country Day, they would have had to fight that hard to get that field. Nobody can tell me that.
I would say there's a lot of questions that need to be answered between Lincoln schools that are south of the 8, right?
Right.
Minus a few of them, but
Right.
schools south of the 8, their issues. There needs to be some type of communication with them in CIF, because there obviously is a problem with CIF and the school districts that disperse money where there's issues. There's an issue there. There's either a communication issue, there's a dislike issue, whatever the case may be. There's issues there, and they don't go through the same problems as north of the 8. The Scripps Ranch don't have a problem. The Rancho Bernardos and the Powers, they don't have issues. And granted, they live in a more affluent community as far as finance is concerned. They got a lot more wealthy people in there, but everything is supposed to be diverse in the bucket, and you're supposed to select and choose and get what field and get the things of necessity. And they're not. They're just not. And no one wants to address the elephant in the room. Like, let's talk about the elephant in the room. First, answer me the why. Why aren't we getting it? And I need you I need them to justify why we're not getting there, what's going on.
And they'll say, okay, because this community pays more property taxes than this community, and so forth and so on. But we live in San Diego, okay? The median home cost is like $1.3 million, and that's whether you're in flipping Southeast or you understand what I'm saying. So don't tell me that we don't have the money. You understand what I'm saying, or that you can't find the money.
More of a question is that if that's the case, then why aren't our mayors and those go ahead and say, okay, we're going to charge businesses that are so large X amount of more tax dollars to go to our community? It's not very hard, man. You got to think 0.5% of tax on where there's a population of $10 million. That right there would cover a school every year for now on at 0.5%.
Here's a better one too. All those liquor stores and dispensaries and those places that are on every corner in our community, right? There should be some sort of a barrier to entry. If you're going to come in and you're going to put those destructive things in our community and you're going to force feed us with those things, then you should also be helping to build the streets and schools and all that other good stuff. I mean, there has to be a fair exchange, but we the people are going to have to get together and raise those things. But the problem is the powers that be, and man, we went way off subject, but the problem is the powers that be, They have taught us over 200 and 300 years to hate ourselves, and they keep us fragmented, and we keep arguing over little culture issues and that type of stuff. And we never put the main thing, coming together, forming a collective fist and knocking the shit out of anybody that's in our way that will stop our community from thriving. And that's whether it be sports, that's whether it be roads, that's whether it be education and all those things as well. But we have to do it together, but we're so fragmented. You know what I mean?
Well, it's easy to control. It's easy to control what they say so-called the dumb or the angry. It's easy to control someone that's angry. Someone's angry, you just become a common enemy to their enemy, and they're on your side. So, and someone's dumb, you can easily manipulate them. Let's talk about the military. How come the military has never paid a tax on the community of San Diego when they have all these places in here, but they never give back to the education system or the road infrastructure, nothing? They just house there, and they say since they have an economy there, then that's good enough. That's not good enough anymore, because there's no reason why Coronado should be so nice across the bridge, and you come back over this bridge into downtown, and then we got a tremendous amount of homelessness, displacement, and the education level is completely different. Like, make it make sense, and that's just a mile bridge. That's a mile, mile over the bridge. So there's a lot of things that need to be discussed, but like you said, first we got to come on the common ground. And I think the people that have the most power in that infrastructure are the educators. Like, don't just strike for money, strike for change.
Right.
Like, if you want change, if that school district south of the A said, we're all going to go on strike until you start listening to us and doing what you do, we're not going to educate your kids and be babysitters from them, they have to answer because now the state won't give them money, right? There's wills and ways to do it, but you got to strike for change and be all in unison. But like you said, we're so fragmented and we're so divided by a trolley stop or down the street or four corners, the four corners of D and all these. We're so fragmented, and we have such this wall against us, and we don't want to help the next man. That's got to end at point. And I think, me coming from the Bay Area, man, Oakland, and I can just kind of, before I know we got to wrap up, but Oakland is kind of in the same situation, but it's different. Oakland Unified, they really are strong together. They understand that they have a common cause amongst their education prowess. Now the streets is different, but on the back end, when you come to school from that 7 a.m. to 4 o'clock in the day, guess what? We're all the same. Whether you go to North Oakland, Oakland Tech, Mac, it doesn't matter. We're all in the same thing because we all dealing with the same issues, and we all need to get to the same way. Number two, we got to push more secondary education, man. You got to push these kids to go to colleges. You got to find programs for these kids to be able to go to college and everything, because that strengthens your school. The more you send to schools and send to colleges, guess what? That backs your educational process and makes you bigger and higher on the priority list as far as getting money is concerned, because you're actually getting kids out to college. It's a whole big cycle that's going on in there, and the people that are making money are comfortable in it. The people in leadership positions they're comfortable. Hey, we don't need to change anything. And I think that just trickles down to communities to stand up. I mean, we can march so much and we can protest so much in front of people, but until that mayor gets on the same page as us and tries to implement some change with the school district and with the monies in California, then we have a problem. I also think we need to quit being followers and saying they're going to need to lead, and we need to lead the pack. Whatever we think that this change is ready to go, let's implement it first, and let's be the first one through the door and take the bullet. It's going to be hard. It never is easy, but we can't keep on waiting for LA or Bay Area, somebody else to do something first that we want best for our community. So we got to do things. We got to be able to go through the door first and be able to put those things together. And I know people are like, oh, you just full of talk. I'm not. I just wrote the mayor of Stockton and all them, like, asking, why don't you bring back UOP football and some athletics, because it's not detrimental to your community. It's going to actually help. It's going to boost jobs. It's going to boost education. I wrote San Marcos the same thing. How can we bring back football? That employs one. You got another extra 150 black men on your campus. That's another 40 people for cheer and dance. You got all the infrastructure that goes behind the scenes with people being able to do filming on social media. You're employing so much by bringing football to that campus that it's going to be great for your community, and it stays locally, and a lot of local kids can go there. It's going to be detrimental. It's going to be a benefit for everybody. It's not detrimental at all. And their first thing is it will budget. Okay, well then give me the number. What's the number? Point Loma Nazarene, what's the number? Like, give us a number so we can see how we can make action on it. And if we come up with our part, do your part. But because we know that infrastructure, and we're talking about football, we know that infrastructure is an economic boom within itself. Guess what? It brings in tourism from the teams that's coming out. So the local hotels and restaurants do good. We got jobs for people on campus. College coaches are going to be here. Guess what? They're going to attract a certain demographic. So that's going to be more educated black men, Mexican men, Polynesian men, and white men that are coming to your campus. They get to play the sport they love that's attracting them to come to your university. So tell me why we shouldn't be bringing football back to UCSB, UCSD. All these schools should have football programs. The only reason why they say they don't have it, they'll hide behind Title IX. But if you take the page book from USD, it's non-scholarship, you can still do it. And they've been successful for the last 15, 20 years with it. So don't tell me it's Title IX we got to run behind. And if it's Title IX, give yourself non-scholarship for 3 or 4 years to get yourself to a route where you can supply it with Title IX, and now everything can be even, then offer them scholarships. But you can't tell me that San Marcos can't fill that. Point Loma won't be able to fill the team right now. All these will be able to fill teams right now to be able to do that. So, and back to what I'm saying, it's all about the education structure. They have the power to make change. They just got to be able to format the formula and the plan and go ahead and implement. But we sit on the wayside, on the backside, where our kids are now not educated. Our young men don't have anywhere to go because there's nothing that attracts them. Guess what? That scientist goes to a science school because they have a science program. Our kids want to go to schools that have football programs to get in there and earn their degree and play. It's an attraction mechanism that no one talks about, that all these people are cutting out. And it's funny to me that all these schools, the first thing they look at cutting is the athletic program or pieces of the athletic program. I'm sorry, I love music, I love art, but when's the last time art brought in 500 fans to watch their games?
Never. Yeah. Never.
When's the last time art had a team play for the local hotel and eat at the local restaurants? They never do that. So don't give me that, well, we have to have art and music, but we can't have football. Or we have to have art and music, but we got to cut girls basketball. No, athletics should be the very last component that you're going to cut, because that is a main attraction that attracts a lot of students to come to your university during it and outside of it, right? People that are visiting, wanting to watch the kid play and all that stuff. It's the same. It seems like it's been a vicious cycle to really attack men of color. You know, it just has been. And these are the cutbacks from San Francisco State to Cal State, East Bay. All of them, man. And I'm not just, everybody's accountable. That no one's exempt. Humboldt, my school that cut football years ago. Chico State, same thing. All those schools, you're responsible. Sonoma State, you're responsible. Menlo, you're responsible. You guys should have been able to figure out a mechanism to be able to bring it back, because you know it attracts this many men of color come to your campus to provide diversity, not only look, but also some diversity learning. It allows people to look through a different lens and learn, and you're educating a whole population to be successful in our community once they got that degree, and you eliminated it.
Yeah, I love that. Well, Coach, I appreciate you coming on the show. I think this was a very informative show. Before I let you go, tell me what you got going on in the future. How can kids get a hold of you in terms of the recruiting services, and then also what you got coming up for the games? Yeah,
hit me on just Twitter, NBA Sports 1. Just follow me. I'll follow you back, and we can chop it up and talk and see how I can assist you, or at least give you some information that'll be useful for you. I think as far as on the horizon, man, got a lot of things. Working with Charles James on his project that he's coming out, Diamonds in the Sand, refining Diamonds in the Sand 1 and then Diamond in the Sands 2, kind of being someone that plays the background. Don't want to be in the forefront, but just help my man on the background to be successful. I think that's very important. Again, like we talked about support. I think I also have my own scholarship through the Charles James Foundation, the Tim Wad Home Scholarship, that I try to give at least 2 kids a scholarship every year. For them that are going to a university to be able to be successful and help a little bit with the financial ease in that part. And then we have the Kickoff Classic coming in, like I said, to help feed the homeless. And you utilizing high school football on that. And man, just being me, man, just trying to be able to give back, man, is kind of my. And then we also have my own podcast, Team No Sleep, where we talk about the social impact of sports, which is pretty entertaining. I wish people would join in on that as well.
I love that. Well, this is the time of the show. When I have brothers on the show, I always like to leave by speaking life into them. So just to let you know, brother, you're a king. I appreciate what it is that you do for the community, the man that you are, the image that you put out there. We need a lot more Black men to step up like you do, to put on that front and let them know that, hey, man, we're out here, that we care about you guys. For me, that's my life mission, to really help young men that look like me to reach their goals. And you are one of those gentlemen that I see out there and have been doing it for years. How this, intimate meeting between the two of us hadn't happened before this, I have no idea, but I'm glad that we're here now. So I appreciate you and all that you do. If there's anything, and I mean anything, that I can ever do for you to help perpetuate your movement, it is a phone call away. And I dare you to hold me to that standard. So I appreciate you, brother. And thank you so much. You are listening to Tough Talk with Coach P. I am here with the great Montel Allen. We will be right back after this commercial break.
The Standard is a youth mentorship program empowering young men ages 8 to 14 through athletics, personal growth, and structured guidance. Built on the values of discipline, teamwork, and integrity, The Standard connects sports with life lessons to help participants develop confidence, leadership, and strong character on and off the field.
And welcome back to Tough Talk with Coach P. Listen, we had an amazing show today with the incomparable Montel Allen. Man, we talked about NIL. We talked about what we can do as a community to get it together. Us as Black men, we need to be on the same page because guess what? These younger generation, they're looking up to us to see how they can make things better. Listen, I'm not going to hold you. We had a great show, a little bit longer than I expected, but everything was so great. I'm just going to let the party keep going. When you got a guy on your show who has as much knowledge as Montel Allen, you just sit back and you let him go. So that's what we did today. So thank you so much for listening to this episode of Tough Talk with Coach P. Join us next week. We'll see you next week.
Gotta give it up for Coach. Big shout out to the coaches. Shout out to the coaches. You see, my coach, he believed in me since jump. I'm a product of his coaching. Gotta give it up for Coach. Big shout out to the coaches. Shout out all the coaches. Yeah. You see, my coach, he believed in me since jump. I'm a product of his coaching. Gotta give it up for Coach.